Welcome to Green Building Matters, the podcast that matters for green building professionals. Learn insight in green buildings as we interview today's experts in LEED and WELL. We'll learn from their career paths, war stories, and all things green, because green building matters. And now our host, and yes, he has every LEED and WELL credential. Here's Charlie Cicchetti.
Welcome to the Green Building Matters podcast. My name is Charlie Cicchetti, and I'm going to be your host. I am passionate about advancing green building careers, and that's why I created this podcast. Do green buildings matter to you? Well, you know what? This podcast is going to fuel your fire no matter where you're at with your green building career journey, because we are bringing in some pretty inspiring interviews from industry and nonprofit leaders across the entire built environment and all over the world. Most of our shows will be interview format, where I'm interviewing an industry leader or someone that's in their green building career right now, the progress they're making, their war stories, their challenges, their successes, some early career advice they wish they'd have received, put on the futuristic hat and think of what's around the corner. We're going to cover it all. If you're not sure if green buildings matter, you know what? Listen in. And maybe you'll be convinced, how would this affect me? Maybe you're not an architect or contractor that's influencing that next building being built, but you're in another part of the built environment. You know what? Where is your circle of influence? And I think your eyes are going to be open that each one of us has a bigger circle of influence than we think. On this podcast, you're going to hear, again, the behind-the-scenes stories from the inner workings of those that are in this green building and health and wellness movement, for everything from designing and building green and well to operating our buildings according to those standards. You know, each episode is going to illustrate a unique journey through sustainability and towards resiliency. I invite green building leaders in so that we can explore their challenges, their celebrations that they've had so far in their career. So who am I as the host of this podcast? Well, again, my name is Charlie Cicchetti, and I have been in the green building movement for over 10 years. I have a passion for connecting people and ideas through positive thinking and creative problem solving. But really, when you boil it down, my background is commercial construction when I got out of school at Georgia Tech. And then I worked for a very large real estate developer that was an early adopter of LEED. I was very fortunate to get that early LEED experience on the new projects we were building out of the ground. After I left that large real estate company, I founded a green building consulting firm on one side, and then I've been involved on the green building education movement on the other. And so it's really just been an amazing journey so far. We continue to grow both of my companies that now I lead day to day. On one hand, we do the consulting and the engineering that supports new construction LEED projects, that supports commercial interior projects in core and shell, that supports LEED for existing buildings and Energy Star and retro commissioning. So we really are trying to improve the buildings out there. We are out in front of the well building movement and even programs like Fitwell. But on the other side, and here at GBES, who is behind this podcast, we have a global reach. And what's very exciting there is there are parts of the world that are just now getting into the LEED movement, into the green building movement. And nothing excites me more than teaching. I never knew this when I got out of school at Georgia Tech and worked in construction. But eventually when I got into LEED, we really saw a need for best-in-class education. And we've put out some amazing, not just practice tests to help you pass an exam, continuing education to really keep up your credentials and stay current, but just trainings. What do you need to know so that you have the right tools and the latest information so you can go out and ask better questions on your projects, so that you can maybe be a LEED project manager on that next green building project, and so much more. So I love to teach, and that's why I'm really excited about this podcast, because even though it's going to be a lot of interviews, from time to time we're going to have some episodes that are really teaching you the latest on a certain topic that we're seeing within the green building movement that we think will affect you, your career, and maybe your business there at your firm. I have passed all of the LEED exams and also the WELL AP, and I'm a WELL faculty. So I've made a career in this green building movement. And now, again, I've got to be out in front of the wellness movement. I've built up quite a network, and we're going to bring in some friends of industry, some friends of mine, and some clients and some leaders of nonprofits. We'll cover some of the best architects out there in the world and what are they doing, because they have such an influence over huge buildings going up across the world. We'll cover interviews with leaders at the U.S. Green Building Council and IWBI, the International Well Building Institute. Who are those early adopters? What's around the corner? What does the audience listen to this podcast? What do they need to know that's going to help them when they walk into work tomorrow and when they're thinking about making that career pivot? And so we'll also cover those that are right in the middle of their green building careers. Maybe they're trying to pass that exam, that next exam, but here's what they've been able to accomplish so far. Here's what they're excited about coming up. So we're going to have a broad spectrum of guests. I think you're going to really enjoy seeing and feeling, along with those that were being interviewed, their successes, their challenges, and what's to come. From my perspective, I am just really, really excited to deliver this podcast, and I think you're going to enjoy each and every episode. If you need any more information, you can go to gbes.com/podcast, and that's where we're going to have all of the show notes, the links, and you'll be able to see all the episodes. But here we are at the start of 2018, and we are launching several podcasts that we've just recorded, and we're going to be one per week for now, one episode per week, about 30 minutes, but some will go longer. And if you have any questions at all, make sure you give us some feedback. We're going to have a place that you can do that. So thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy each and every episode of the Green Building Matters podcast. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Green Building Matters podcast. At gbes.com, our mission is to advance the green building movement through best-in-class education and encouragement. Remember, you can go to gbes.com/podcast for any notes and links that we mentioned in today's episode, and you can actually see the other episodes that have already been recorded with our amazing guests. Please tell your friends about this podcast. Tell your colleagues. And if you really enjoyed it, leave a positive review on iTunes. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on next week's episode.